emergency. We had to convene an emergency two big brains because yesterday was god awful.
I loved yesterday. Hey, right there, Illinois State backed it up. They backed up beating Indiana State with a win against Evans. I'll tell you this. Hey, this is no shit. Evansville's a good team. Evansville's 13-4 when they got their big kid playing. Evansville's like, whoa. And the good guys got her done. And then Kent, it was time for IU basketball on the way home.
That was god awful. That was just terrible. That was even late when they tried to claw their way back into the game. That was just awful.
And I give Fish credit. I went back and watched it so I could do a show. I give Fish credit because we were listening. You know how you pick up Sirius and you can go to like the Indiana broadcast, and Fish and Eric were very good at basically saying, yeah, this is bullshit. We're scoring all these points to keep it close, and maybe we'll have a chance, but this is garbage. Like they didn't say it. They were very good. I don't want to get anybody. They were very good, but they were not Homer. Like, hey, this last 2 minutes of offense is making up for all the ills and the garbage that you saw earlier. You know what was really interesting? I had a conversation at halftime of the Indiana State game. We were over there with Doug Collins. Doug Collins is obviously Chris's son. And he was following the game. I was following the game. And I said, you talked to Chris? He goes, yeah. I go, what'd you tell him? He goes, I'll tell you what I told him, play zone. I said, I've never seen an Indiana team, or at least maybe I haven't. His exact word, I haven't seen an Indiana team, or maybe I haven't paid close enough attention, that literally just can't shoot the ball. Yeah. And he had all the stats, and he's right. I mean, it's remarkable, Kent, how poorly organized, how do I put this right? There's nothing to this Indiana basketball team that makes you want to like them.
Right.
And you got a guy. Let me go for just a minute on this particular point, okay? I don't mean to take over the show. I'm sorry. But you got a guy that is getting 25 and 15. Like, that's what Ware ended up, right? And that's kind of a dominant performance.
Yeah.
But it's meaningless. I don't know why. I'm like, man, well, he gets 25 and 15. Yeah, but it's horseshit. It's after the fact. It's when the guts of the game is on, Indiana has no guts for the game. They just don't. Other teams diving, other teams whipping the ball around, other teams making damn sure they get a good shot on this particular possession because something is wrong or something is going right. The other team decides offensively what they're going to do. Indiana reacts when they're on offense. They don't have a plan. There isn't a substance. It's like meeting a hot girl or meeting a great looking guy that has no substance to him. Because Indiana's a great looking team, but there's no substance. There's no inside. There's no, we're going to rely on this. And when it gets tough, we're really going to rely on this. There's just nothing there. And
the thing that frustrates me periodically, they run an offensive set or they get going with an offense where it's kind of pop, pop, pop bucket. And they're moving the ball with alacrity. It's really moving. They create an open shot through that movement, and then they go away from it for like 5 minutes at a time, and I don't get it.
But I'll explain that to you. It's the same thing they did to start Purdue. It's not who they are. They're not well schooled enough. This is what I'm talking about. They can run a set or a pattern or a plays for 5 minutes, but it's not who they are. Like, just to use Indiana or Purdue. When Katie or Knight we were going to run motion offense, and we were going to run it. Hopefully, when we were good at Bowling Green, we would have these ridiculous second halves, like 15 of 20. Second half field goal percentage for Purdue when they were good with Katie or us at Indiana, or the 5 of the 10 years I was at Bowling Green. Second halves are where you wear them out with your stuff. And that's what I'm saying. Indiana doesn't have that. They start out against Purdue gangbusters, man. They're wow, but they can't sustain because they're not connected enough. They're not team enough. They're not organized enough, and they're not demanded enough. And it's clear. And it was yesterday. You're exactly right. There are periods where it goes good. Every team has that. But the good teams, hey man, they play through. Maybe we get stuck for a possession or two. Maybe Slappy Johnny takes a bad shot, but that's over with. And 90% of the game, you have to guard us. Whatever us is, you have to guard our best stuff that we've worked on. And I feel like with Indiana, I don't know. It's a 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there. Maybe you get down 14 and then, you throw a lob, get a dunk or hit a three, but there's no insides to it. And any basketball team you watch from high school, college, pro, they gotta, you just gotta guard their shit and you gotta play against their shit for 40 minutes. And Indiana just does not have that.
Is that a matter? How do you fix it? Can you fix it once you got the guys, or do you have to change the way you recruit guys? Is this DNA or is this correctable environment?
I really believe this, and this is where I've been really negative, particularly this morning because I couldn't sleep and I was tired. So I'm being a little bitch today. But anyway, I think next year, if these guys stay, you'll see a big time jump in what we're talking about. But I don't know who's staying, right? I mean, does Galloway come back? I don't know. Does Ware go? I have no idea. But I just think that Woody hasn't been good enough, and he should be, because in the NBA, you're always putting teams together. Junior college. I talked to Chris Beard, actually. He called me the other day, and we were talking about putting teams together. And junior college, you put teams together. You got two guys, and they're gone, and here. And this is where Woody has not had anything going on in terms of who's the guy that you're like, all right, he puts everything together.
Like the agent that makes it work? Indiana doesn't have any of those.
No. And everybody, that should have developed this year. That's where I'm saying. Like that should have. Illinois State has straightened their season out with two big wins because they had a senior named Kendall Lewis who played so fucking hard in a loss, Kent. I'm not sure I've ever seen a kid play harder in a game ever. I'm not saying no kids haven't played as hard. I'm saying harder. And honest to God, your teammates see that, and you don't even know you're doing it, right? You're just doing it, right? And your teammates see it, and they don't know they're reacting to it, but they do. And I'm watching Indiana, and it was a little bit. I got home around 7:30, so I turned it back on, and I'm like, okay, who's going to be this? Who am I watching here that's going to play balls? Galloway does a little bit, but none of those front court guys. There's not one of those guys that you're like, wow, like he's going after it like every possession.
Sometimes Renew will get kind of in a channel where he works, and then all of a sudden he commits a fourth foul, and 9 seconds later he commits the fifth, and he doesn't understand how running into a guy isn't that's a foul. I don't understand how you can go about the business of learning how to play basketball and not know that fouls are fouls.
Kent, there is one foul that is almost an automatic, and that's over the top, over the back.
Yeah.
It's pretty much a lazy man's offensive foul, right? Because instead of moving your feet, and when I watch Indiana, I say, like, all right, and this pisses me off, and this makes me nuts, because it should have developed. What does Mbakto do other than make a couple jump shots? Is he an energy guy? Does he run the floor? Like, the dude can fly. Like, is anybody doing anything outside of their comfort zone? So I'm watching last night, and I start watching Mbakto because I know he hits a couple threes late, right? Because I've already listened to the show. There is nothing about his game that he could not do at 5'11". Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, You know, he doesn't need to be 6'8" to stand around and shoot a jump shot or two. I'm not saying he would make it, but you get my point, right? It's not like he gets to the offensive glass. It's not like he's getting in the stance and getting in help side, pinning shots against the backboard, because I guarantee you he can jump to the top of the freaking square. But what does he do? And I'm watching him going, he might as well be 5'10", or he might as well be me.
You know, I think he's one of those guys that you're talking about who can be led in this direction or can be led in that direction.
That's right.
And right now he's being led in that direction by a bunch of guys who don't play hard.
No.
And you can't have that. You can't have your best player not be your hardest working guy, or he's going to drag everybody else's ass with him, and that doesn't work.
No. I'm going to give you something else that you're going to disagree with and think I'm a fool. But you were in management. And one thing I learned from Coach Knight, and this isn't on the court, this is off, is don't let mediocrity infiltrate your program.
Oh, right.
In any way, shape, or form. Like, even when we were getting our ass beat at Bowling Green my last couple of years and I got injuries and whatever it was, the expectations stayed the same, whether it was my managers, whether it was the trainer. I don't give a shit.
100%. And I think you can survive if you've got a guy on a scale of 1 to 10 who's a 5, but he plays to a 7. That can lift you. That can make you better. But if you got a guy who's a 9 talent who plays to a 7, that guy's going to kill you.
Right. That's what I was saying about the Kendall Lewis kid. They don't run a thing for him. He's probably averaging 7. You know, he's not. But anyway, so I'm looking at Indiana, and they got his grad assistant, and he puts out a picture that says family. And, you know, the NBA All-Star break. And I'm looking at his picture. And there's my boy Miller Kopp. There's DJ White, Race Thompson, and Trace Jackson Davis. And I thought to myself, and they're on the court laughing with Leo. And I thought to myself, don't let mediocrity in.
Yeah.
Like, what are those guys going to tell that current team, who's, by the way, fighting to salvage their own season? So I swear this is what I would have done. Fellas, love having you here. But DJ White quit in 08 against Arkansas. These guys have quit against Miami and St. Mary's. Fellas, I love having you here, man. Love you coming back. Practice in the locker room are closed. We're fighting for our lives. We lost to Purdue. Use the weight room. Come up to the office. I'll buy you pizzas. But I don't want these motherfuckers around my players.
Yeah.
And I don't want to show them in front of my players, and people think this is harsh. I don't want to show them that it's okay to be mediocre and we're just going to take care of you. Like, what are they going to say to a player after they've quit and those players know it? Like, I remember Buckner came in and talked to us when I was like a sophomore, and I was like this, Kent. Yeah, I'll do whatever. Yeah. They went undefeated. Like,
right.
But what are these fucking guys going to say?
Yeah.
Like, hey, man, remember we had a TikTok and we what? I wouldn't even, I swear to you, Kent, I wouldn't even, now if Isaiah or Landon or Ray or one of those guys around, come on and talk to the team. But I would not let those motherfuckers in my locker room. I would not let them on the court. I would not let them around my play. Now, they're going to get around the players because they're friends and all that, but not on my watch. And there would be a 6 a.m. practice right now. There would be, I said this earlier. I'm sorry, I'm dominating here, but you lose to Purdue, and in 08, it wasn't my team. It just wasn't my team. But we had gotten rid of Bassett. We had gotten rid of Ellis, and we were on our way to start 6 a.m. practice. This is going to be the most brutal offseason. And I told that idiot Greenspan and Gonzo, this is what we have to do. Yeah. It was a 20-part thing, 25-part thing that I gave them. So now, I don't know when Indiana plays next, and I don't care. You get your ass beat by Purdue. You get your ass beat at home. Fellas, it's going to be 6 fucking o'clock in the morning until 8. Do your thing. We're going at 3. We're having a film session that night, and we're doing it again Tuesday night. I don't care if we play Wednesday, because there's no learning with this particular team. This team needs its ass kicked. And Woodson can say my practices are hard. Yeah, my dick. He don't do shit. And I'm telling you, If I get fired, good. Pay me my buyout. But I told whoever it was, the fat kid, DeAndre Thomas, this is going to be the most ridiculous spring ever here, and you're going to get kicked off tomorrow. And it was going to be, because we're going to straighten it, and you have to do that at some point. And they don't.
The downside to that is really the upside. They
Right.
see it as a downside that it's going to shake the tree and the loose fruit's going to fall off.
Right.
Good.
Right.
Adios. We got to rebuild the damn culture anyway. You're either going to be a part of it or you're not. And I don't really give a damn which.
Right. Kent, we're losing with you.
Right.
Shit can lose without you. But I got to take, and you're going to whine, you're going to bitch, you're going to moan. Good. Great. Wonderful. But this is what we're doing. And you want to bitch about it, then you ain't playing.
You know what that's called? That's called leadership. And if you don't have leadership, you're not going to be able to win no matter what. You're going to face adversity. And if your response to adversity as a leader is that you don't do anything different, you're going to become what you tolerate always, always, always 100% of the time.
I think I told you this story before. You got to do stuff like, so I think it was my second or third year. Third year we won the league, so it's probably my third year. And I could tell my team didn't need to practice. So we won a game. We won like a couple, 3 games in a row. And I walked in, I go, fellas, we're not in good enough shape. I go, we're just not. I go, if we want to make a run, I go, tomorrow, 3 o'clock, bring boots, bring a jacket, bring hat, bring scarves. And maybe I told you this before, but we're going to meet out at the hill at Bowling Green. There's a big hill in the middle of campus, or in the middle of the golf course. And they looked at me like, what the fuck, coach? We just won. Like, meet me out there. So we all meet the next day, drive out to the middle of, campus. And I had my managers get as many sleds as we could and trays from the cafeteria and take them up to the top of the hill. I go, boys, run up the fucking hill. Let's go. I'm tired of we get up there. I run with them, and they're looking at me. I go, fellas, we're sledding today. I go, we're not practicing. We're sledding. Get on a sled and go down. They had the greatest time ever. You have to read your team. Yeah. You have to read this time of year. You've got to know. You can't go at 6 a.m. unless everybody understands it's necessary, and players even understand. And they don't like it. But this garbage of, well, Gabe Cupps is going to start, even though Gabe Cupps hasn't done shit and Liel has hit 3, is silly. There's no, it's like there's no consequence for anything. Like, take the play. Right. What was the play last night? Oh, who's that big stiff? Nicholson for Northwest. How many times did Nicholson, or that kid that transferred from freaking Penn State, just kick the shit out of whoever they were playing against? Yeah. Like, no. That has to be punished.
But we looked pretty in our new black jerseys.
Can't.
Style over substance drives me nuts. You want to go to an alternate jersey after you've won like 14 in a row, you go right ahead and you do it because you're winning. If you're 6 and 7 in the league and you trot out these new duds and you get out toughed by Northwestern, I'm locking up the alternates until the end of time. You're not going to wear any of that shit. We're going back to old school everything.
Right. Do you think that Adidas, along with Dulcin and Indiana, picked the Northwestern game for those because they figure they're going to win the game?
I sure as hell hope not.
I think they did, Ken. I do. I'm telling you, as soon as I saw it, I thought, all right, that's why they're doing it. It's a Sunday. Why wouldn't you do it on a Saturday game? I can't remember Indiana's schedule, so maybe I'm wrong, but I'm just saying, hey, the whole place, like, they came out, and were the fans booing the officials, or were they booing Indiana? The first time I felt like they were booing the officials, maybe at halftime.
Yeah.
And I thought I heard in the second half, some booing of play, but maybe it was officials too. I don't know.
Let me ask you about the jerseys, because I don't know how this crap works. Does Adidas mandate that, or
Yeah.
does Dolson work with Adidas to get that done? How's
Well,
that work?
nothing is in a vacuum. So Scott, works with them, but it's that's a lot of money. I think there's 25 million or something like that they're paying Indiana. So they got some say. There's a I know for football there's a wardrobe. On this game you wear this, next game basketball I think they had that, but that is absolutely worked with Scott
Okay.
and Adidas. And I read this. I used to know the Adidas guys 100 years ago when we were with them. But they said that the big time executives were in. Now I don't know what that means. That because you always had representatives. You knew the one guy. He died. He was a North Central Jim.
Oh, Jim DeSalle.
Yeah, Jim. Yeah, I think he might have been a Converse guy. But anyway, so I don't know how that whole thing works, but I know this. Look, Buckner and Woodson, let me put it this way. They want Indiana to be the old Georgetown, where we ain't recruiting white dudes. That's what they want it to be. All right. So this is all a part of that agenda. These uniforms. I know it sounds weird. I know, but it just is. It's all part of this thing that teams do. There was a study. Black is more attractive. The White Sox were the first ones back in the 90s to use black. People loved it. They sold more merchandise. Recruits love that stuff. I'm just telling you, man. It's all part of an agenda.
That that seems it seems to violate logic to me. Yeah,
How?
because like Buckner played with Abernathy and Green
Yeah,
and Buckner or and Benson, and Woodson played with Benson and Kitchell and Whitman. Indiana's always been good
I know.
when there was kind of some white guys, some black guys, and they played together in harmony. That's when Indiana's been good. That's when Purdue's been good. So if the intended outcome is success, I don't understand.
I'm, and it doesn't make any sense because that Liam kid. But I'm just telling you, man, that is a part of it. I'm not saying that's the whole thing, but that is a part of it. And nobody's ever going to admit it, but I've been told that by people I trust. Let's put it that way.
Is it harder because we're talking about race? I think it's interesting. Is it harder for a black coach to recruit white kids?
No, no, I think kids these days don't pay attention to any of it. I think kids these days are far less race oriented. Like, I don't think that I don't think either way. I've always thought, even going back, there weren't a lot of black coaches when I was playing. Freddie Cofield was in the Big Ten, but I don't really think I don't think guys really look at it. I don't think so. I could be wrong. I'm not in. I just remember thinking with Andrew, like, I don't give a shit. I mean, hell, if you just be a good dude. What do you care?
Right.
But no, I don't think so. I honestly don't. Uh-uh.
And the other way, I mean, clearly that's not a big deal because
White guys,
it's
black guys.
like Hurley can recruit white guys, black guys, whatever. You've got black coaches who can recruit white guys, black guys. It seems maybe they just want to win and they just want their bag.
You got well, the bag changes everything. And I really think Indiana's affected by the bag. People tell me this, and you may know better than me because I don't pay much attention to it. But you made the point in one of our shows that Anthony Leal was making enough to pay off his sister's student loans.
Yeah.
What are these guys that are getting 25 and 15 get? What is Mbako getting that he didn't go to Kansas and he's here? Indiana's got some change coming from these clowns. Like Indiana, like God dang, if you're going to pay all this money there should be an expectation. And let me ask you, here's the other thing. See, I've changed my tune on this. People have said, well, players will own coaches if they're paying them NIL. See, I look at it differently. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, um, what's the big kid's name? Where? He's being paid a lot of money, and he's mad that we're having practice at 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning. All right, I ain't coming. Okay, well, your NIL money's gone. Good luck. I mean, I don't know if that's how it works, but that's how it would work if I were the coach. It would be like, all right, you want to be a pain in the ass? Great, goodbye. Your NIL deal is over. And if it's a lot of money, that's hurtful. Does that
Here's
make
an
sense?
interesting thing about Leo is that because my nephew's in the same program, like there's a business school program at IU that's an entrepreneurial deal. And every semester there are about 15 kids in it. The semester prior to this one that my nephew's in it, Leo was in it, and his deal was NIL related, that he was going to become the agent who drove NIL money into the athletic department and into the athletes' pockets. So it's not just that he's getting paid for doing what he does. It's not like, Anthony, here's your bag. It's Anthony working the NIL channels to go get the bag for other guys. And that brings its own kind of weird sense of entitlement. That all of a sudden you're crossing some weird ass streams in doing that, right? He's becoming an agent for players while he's a player, and that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, good for him, I guess. But are you a basketball player? Are you trying to win? You know, when I hear that bullshit with him, now that you said that, now it's all bullshit. I play for the name on the front of my jersey. My ass. I don't want to hear that shit about Leo. I play so that people will let me, you know what, give NIL money to India? No. A realtor? No, fuck him. No. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done with all of them. Somebody said here that Xavier Johnson makes 200 grand, which puts him in the 1% in Indiana. If he's making 200 grand, man, holy hell. I
Well,
mean,
I
let's
mean,
be.
if you're a business student and you know intimately this business, like if you're a computer software guy and you understand computers and you understand how to utilize computers to make some money for yourself, that's a good thing. He understands athletics and the athletic department and the athletes at Indiana, and he
Yeah.
understands the NIL workplace.
All
Why
right.
not work that channel to put some money in your pocket?
All right. You're right.
It's better than video games. It's better than going out drinking.
No, you're right. You're right. I can't argue with you. You're absolutely right. Yeah, you're right. I'm wrong. I apologize to you. No,
I'm not taking your apology seriously at all.
no, see, I'm stuck in 1994 or three because I'm sitting here going, how about we just do the NIL stuff, get somebody to do that, and then how about we just go win some fucking games and be Indiana?
Yeah.
Because, in my opinion, ultimately, longer on in life, being a national champion in Indiana is going to mean more than whatever money you're scrounging up and distracted from. Now, that may be dead wrong, Kent. But again, I'm stuck because that's how I look at it. Like, why are we worried about all this crap? Like, I get it. No. Indiana's apparently got a good NIL base. They're giving money. That's fine. But once those deals are done before the season starts, I don't want to hear about them. I don't want to
Yeah.
screw them. I don't want them to infect me. I don't want them to influence. I want your ass in a film room. I want your ass in a classroom. I want your ass in a weight room. And I want your ass in a gym. That's it. Like,
We can't wait to complicate life. It
oh,
seems like guys 18 to 24, they love complicating their own lives at a level that just makes no sense to me at all. If you keep it simple and do the right thing and compete at a high level, you're going to get your NIL money. Everything that you want is going to come true if you do that one thing and you do it with focus and you do it well.
yeah. And if you come here for NIL money, fine. The deal's done. That's great. It's done. So now
Right.
go play and go compete. But here's the bigger issue talking about on the court. You know, nothing has worked. Like, like here comes an NBA guy. Here comes a guy from Dayton. Here comes, I mean, it's like, Jesus. I mean, I look at Indiana and I say, Well, why does every team, and this is going back to Archie, this is going back late, I guess, with Cream. Why does every team just look, players play better? I don't know if they look better. They just play better than Indiana guys. Like that team last night, they looked loose. Even, it's what, 10-9, or it's going back and forth early, and there were different stretches when Indiana did, but it never looked like Northwestern was playing. Let me put it this way: it never looked like Northwestern was playing on the road at Indiana.
Right.
Right?
They had one of their best guys out.
Yes.
That Boo Booey didn't play terribly well.
No.
You got your ass kicked by Langborn, for God's sake. That should never happen. And Nicholson. And
Yeah.
that should really nenever happen.
That's what I'm saying. And those two guys, like, I get it. You lose to Northwestern because Boo Booey goes stupid and
Right.
somebody 8-3. You know what I mean? Like, I get it. Okay. There's nothing you can do with that in basketball sometimes. We'd bitch and say, hey, look, you gotta, you gotta guard Boo Booey. Well, it's easier said than done, particularly with a guy that can go stupid and jump over you and hit, like a pro. What does Seth Greenberg always say? Seth says college guys hit open shots, NBA guys hit tough shots. And Boo Booey could hit tough shots, but that wasn't it. It
Right.
was stiff, freaking bearded center. Like, what the shit is this? Right? And he's just, I mean, his numbers weren't, they're not near what Ware's were, but when the game mattered, they were.
Yeah.
And how does that continue to happen? Like, how does that not every time, but many, many times, and this is what baffles me. Like, no, how does that continually happen? I feel like it was the same thing with Archie. I feel like it was the same thing later on with. It just feels like it's the same freaking thing. While Indiana's got to, it's like Indiana's got to make everything hard, and the teams that they're playing against just play. Just, hell, Boo Booey missed 2 free throws late, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Hey, let me ask you,
yeah,
what do you think of the technical that was called on Sparks? I thought it was nonsense. I hate technicals like that
yeah,
because you gave up the ball and you gave up the 2 points on the Bowie free throws. But was there a
no,
technical? I didn't
no.
see him do anything wrong at all.
No, I'm gonna tell you what happened. I swear to God, this happened. I swear to God, and because it's not only Indiana, we've seen it in other games. Like there was a technical on Bennett. What's Bennett's first name at Virginia? Tony. There was a technical on him that I think I'm going to find this out now that you brought it up. I think at midway point they make adjustments in the season, like they have a referee comp. And I swear to God, Kent, across the country there must have been some issues because I have seen more nonsensical technicals, like the one on Sparks, that's a player, and like the one on Bennett, that's a coach, than I've seen maybe in my lifetime. When was the other? Did Sparks get another one? Somebody else got a technical.
He did a couple of weeks ago, or a
Nonsense.
flagrant one, or something
Yeah,
like
it was
that.
nonsense. And then in the Purdue game, the kid Jones is like dancing with the band, kind of doing this, telling them IU sucks, and they give him a technical. And I'm sitting there going, And yesterday it hit me too. Like, wait a second. I'm telling you, there was the head of officials got officials together and said, we've got to make sure that we don't have incidents.
Yeah.
Maybe they're being proactive, but no, it was garbage, and it's hurtful when you take the ball away. Technicals when you got the ball are particularly hurtful.
That was well. I mean, they wound up playing it into a 16-point deficit, and Indiana kind of came back. But if you've got a potential 5-point swing and it's a 4-point game, that's got a
Question.
lot to do with the result of the game, at least theoretically, math wise, it does.
It opens the game up. It elevates them. It brings you down. There's a different mentality. Think about the crowd difference let's say you make it a 2-point game as opposed to a 9-point game.
Yeah.
A whole different deal. And I'm telling you, I wish Bo Borowski would listen to this show, because he would call me and go, 100%, I guarantee you that's what happened. Because I've just seen more nonsense out of the fucking blue. Like, what is wrong with you calling that?
And you know what? He's not a kid like Xavier Johnson where I think
Yeah.
referees are just waiting to call a flagrant on him because that's his reputation. Peyton Sparks is not that kind of kid, and he's not that kind of player. And I watch and I think, well, what I want, I think they went to the monitor on that. They did. They had 7
Yeah.
replay reviews, 7 in that game. Anyway, they looked at the replay and I saw it 5 or 6 times on TV. I was like, I don't know what the kid did. I mean, this is ridiculous.
If I'm calling, I think you said this the other day. If I'm calling a big time flagrant, then I got to be able to see it. I mean, if it's that big time, unless some guy
Right.
just go backhand into the package that I miss. But if I'm, well, but you know what? All right, let's go to the other side of it. I don't even know if I can equate this, but if you're Indiana, I think at this point you're probably a little paranoid, and if you're paranoid, then you ought to be overly cautious. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because it's not. Well, I mean, what Gunn got one? I don't know, but here's the bottom line, Kent. This basketball team is massively, massively underachieving, and it's sad to say, but maybe Xavier Johnson's that important to the whole mix.
If you're Dolson, and let's say the season unravels the way it looks like it's unraveling, I mean, it's already unraveled, but you bring Woodson in at the end of the year. What are you asking of him in terms of a plan to fix it, or some kind of idea that something's going to change next year that's going to justify his continued employment?
Here's how I would do it as an athletic director. I would have a guy, a very smart basketball guy, feed me all the numbers that I deem important. What's our shooting percentage? What's our opponent's shooting percentage? What are we giving up on offense? What's our efficiency rates offensively, defensively? I'm not going to worry about everything, but I'm going to worry about certain things. I'm going to say, all right, Mike, here's where we're at. So he can't bullshit me, right? I don't want a bullshit conversation. I'm going to have a serious conversation because this is serious money and a serious program and a serious university. And I'm going to say, here's where we're at, Mike. And this is on top of my own eyes. Now, we're going to start with recruiting. We got Liam or whatever. Where are you at? And then I, as an AD, like ADs are involved now. ADs will tell you, I don't want transfers or I only want 2 transfers or you need to go young. I would want to know from Woodson what he's going to do about the offensive basketball problem. And the offensive basketball problem is schematic and it's shooter wise. It's what are you going to do about it? Who are you going to recruit? Tell me what you're going to do. What are you going to run? Are you going to change anything? I would want to know about the assistants. Now, I would be watching the assistants if I were Dolson and his staff. I would be watching them. What are they about? What are they frontmen? Meaning, when Dolson walks in the building, all of a sudden, hey, we're going. Are they frontmen? All of a sudden, when Woodson walks in the building, hey, now we're going. What's the schedule for individual workouts? What is that? I mean, is it every day? Is it when you guys feel like it? Is it, I want to know all of this stuff because this is what goes into a program. And if
Yeah.
you don't do this, man, are you behind? Then, on top of everything, I kind of want to know, how are you improving as a coach? Like, you've been here now 3 years. It's college game, not the NBA game. You know it. What are you doing in the macro? What are you improving in? What do you think? What. And I would listen. I would listen a lot. And I would know what I'm looking for. Am I going to be bullshitted? Then Mike would have a problem. If this is going to be a, well, no, I don't know.
We're
That's
young.
right. And those are, but I want to be a lawyer in this case. I want to have more
Right.
information than they think I have when I'm having this conversation. And I want to have a plan. Like, look, all right, these 5-star guys that you're bringing in from all over the country are great, but how committed are they to Indiana? And I might know, if I'm the AD, the top 20 players in Ohio, Indiana, Michigan, and Illinois. I might educate myself on all that. Okay, what are you doing about, this kid or that kid? Because I think we're past the point with Woodson where, hey, it's Mike Woodson, yay rah, we're done. That's over.
Right. You And you've got to have, you ask the initial question, you have to know whether that response is nonsense. And if it is, you've got to probe further and further and further, and somehow, some way, get down to the nugget of what's wrong with this program and whether Woodson is the guy to bring it back up.
And you can only do that if you have information.
Right. You got to be really well prepared for that. Is Dolson an attorney?
No.
He doesn't have a law degree. Okay.
No, but
I didn't know.
He knows basketball, obviously. But the thing is, you got to be more prepared for that than any other meeting, other than you got to hire a coach, all that kind of. And there's nobody that can prepare you for that. Like, you're in the job as the athletic director for a variety of reasons, and one of those reasons has to be I got to be able to know and evaluate the people working for me, and one of the people working for me is the basketball coach and the football coach, and whoever coach. And there's always, I don't know who it is at Indiana now, who the sport coordinator or whatever they call it is. There's always a liaison. It was a guy named Fitzgerald when I was there, but he's long gone. And that guy is
That's
not,
for the best.
Yeah, he's not necessarily a spy, but he got to know some stuff.
Right.
And then here's what it really comes down to, Kent. What are you willing to do as an athletic director?
Yeah.
What are you willing to do? What's your end game? Are you willing to pull the plug on this? Are you afraid of public opinion on this?
It's the same deal as we talk about with the players and the coach, right? If the AD is unwilling to make it uncomfortable for the head coach, meaning that the adversity is profound enough that he's got to respond with some kind of improvement plan, and almost goaded into it, what is the point? If you can't bring a consequence to bear against him, and that's where Buckner his presence on the board of trustees is really important, isn't it?
Well, it's important for Woodson.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah. Because if Woodson thinks he's got cover from Buckner, then what's he worried about Dolson?
Well, here's the way it works. Buckner can always be outvoted. Like, if I'm a trustee and I say, wait a second, we're going to have to talk about this. I think they had a trustee meeting today, as a matter of fact. We're going to have to talk about this basketball situation. And Buckner, well, I got this all in hand. No. I mean, there's egos on that board of trustees, so they can bring it up and they can tell Woodson, or they can tell Buckner, hey, look, we're going to talk about this, and we're thinking about making the decision. And then Buckner has to be smart enough, or else he'll lose power, to engage in that conversation. Now, he can try to sway that conversation, right? But he's got to be smart enough to engage in that, or else nobody's going to pay attention to him. Because, again, you're not dealing with 17-year-olds. You're dealing with very successful men and women,
right,
on the board of trustees that are used to being listened to. And all of a sudden, if somebody, and again, it's the most obvious thing there is for these guys. It may not be obvious where funding is going to, Botswana land or wherever the hell Indiana does, but it sure the hell is obvious to them the basketball program sucks. Right. And
pretty easy to gauge that.
Yeah. So if Buckner wants to poo-poo that, then he's going to lose their respect, because that's easy. Hey, dude, I turned on my fucking TV. Fans are leaving. I always try to explain this the best I can, that one thing I've learned is we all see a board of trustees or an athletic director or a president, but the truth of the matter is, and this, they're real people.
Yeah.
No different. The board of trustees member wants to sit down and watch the Indiana basketball game. And then the board of trustee member, like, I don't like going to a bar or a party and everybody's asking me, why does Indiana suck? That's getting a bit tiresome. And then I become a dick, and then I got to go home, and then I feel bad in the morning, and it's a whole problem. But can't they do the same thing?
Yeah.
Board of trustee member, hey, you're on the board of trustees. What's going on with Woodson here? This is bullshit. I remember telling Coach Knight, Coach, you got over on Clarence. That was pretty funny. But you know what? He got an ego too, brother.
Yeah.
And yeah, fan pasture, man. Board of Trustee don't want to get laughed at on the golf course. That's right. I'm telling you.
Hey, Andy Moore's got to sell cars.
Andy Moore doesn't want to be talking about whether or not. Andy Moore
No,
wants everybody in the state of Indiana happy, right?
exactly.
When you're happy, you're spending, you're getting, hey, no, I'll tell you what, I'll put you in a brand new block. Okay, yeah. I'm going to drive that to Atlanta and watch the Hoosiers play. All right, let's do it. I'm telling you, you're right. You're right. That's really true, Kent. I try to tell people it's not this mythical figure, board of trustees, with no, it's human beings that got to answer the same shit we all are talking about.
Yep. Yep. So Nebraska coming. I know you don't know, nor do you want to, but Nebraska and Indiana play on Wednesday night.
Guard,
At this point, it really doesn't matter, does it? Because the road doesn't end. The road to the Final Four is not running through the Indiana Hoosiers.
not unless they win the Big Ten tournament, I think.
Right.
I mean, I think that's kind of where we're at right now. I mean, I held out hope last week. I told you, I go, man, shitty as the year is, you got quad one wins coming up at home against Northwestern and against Nebraska.
Yeah.
Come on. Well, you better guard the Asian kid. I don't know, Tom Meninga or whatever the hell his name is. I'm telling you, man, I think that dude, he's the most fun player in college basketball, not named Caitlin Clark. I think.
He smiles endlessly. Every time he hits a shot, he's got a big grin and kind of, hey. It's awesome.
I used to call it, hey, I used to tell my players, don't be grin fucking me. Don't be grin fucking me. You're smiling and you're killing me. I know you're smiling. That's what he does. He grin fucks the opponent, Kent. He's smiling, he's patting everybody on the back as he's drilling 30 and ripping your freaking skull and your heart out. And you're like, oh, man, better guard that guy because that guy.
At the end of the game, you can't believe it. You watch it because he looks nothing like a basketball player. Even his body type is kind of doughy looking. He's kind of an odd looking body guy, and you think, oh, what the hell is this guy? His dad's on the board of trustees,
right?
And all of a sudden, like you said, 30, and you're going home with a loss. So,
but you know what? He's big late.
Yeah, he is.
He's big. He ain't afraid to go get it done late with a pull up, a step back, maybe a drive. I'm telling you, man, it may put the Bill Belichick on him. If they beat us, it ain't gonna be him.
It's what Indiana doesn't have is what that kid does have.
Yeah,
and that's a knowledge of how to play. He knows how to get what he needs to get when he needs to get it. And Indiana doesn't have any of that. I don't understand. Like, nobody's teaching the fundamentals here of basketball. At least they don't do it at Indiana. And that drives me crazy. I can't stand it. I can't watching like Malik Renew. It's always this.
Yeah.
Like with that face. How's that a foul? Well, of course it's a foul, you dumbass. And how about Khalil Ware? Get on the floor after a loose ball once in a while.
Hey.
They don't do the things that win you basketball games, and it drives me crazy.
Who do you think was higher rated, C.J. Gunn or that Asian kid?
Oh, yeah, C.J. Gunn, no question.
And ain't a day in C.J. Gunn's life that he could play with that Asian kid. And I'm not talking about just production. I'm talking about sense and be able to dance and be able to make a move and do all the stuff. All right, Ken, you're going to think I'm insane. I'm watching Yale, who's like 17-3 against Princeton, who's 18-3. And Kent, I swear to God, both teams had two guys apiece that were better perimeter players than Indiana has. And both teams would be in the top 4 or 5 in the Big Ten. They're so much better organized. They're so much, and there's a Filipino kid for Yale who I guess NBA scouts, or for Princeton, who NBA scouts were there. He's got a horrific haircut. But I guess it's the style, but it's just awful for those of us that keep it tight on the sides. It's out here. It looks like, but the dude goes up one-handed. He's like 6'3", laying it in. And then I'm watching this Kent, and I said, I was hoping Izzo would call me. He called me the other night out of the blue for something I don't even know. I was hoping he's going to call me, and I say, look, man, you better hope your resume is better than Yale or freaking Princeton because they're better than you. They're Kent. They're really good. And my point is about Yale and Princeton, but the Big Ten sucks. Big Ten is terrible.
Well, the best player on the floor yesterday, to your point, was the Langborn kid, and he's a transfer from Princeton.
Right. And you know what? You know what? Princeton's 18 or 19-3 and didn't miss him.
Yep.
What the hell is that?
And we got nothing against the kid. I'm sure he seems like a really nice kid, but Anthony Walker can't shoot at all, and he doesn't know that he can't shoot, so he keeps shooting, and I don't get it.
I saw him move at Purdue, and I couldn't believe it. I thought at least, here's a guy, you got all these athletes at Miami last year. They're athletic and tough and blah, blah, That dude can't move. He don't move like an athlete. And then he can't shoot. No. I want that kid. I want Barnheiser's kid.
Yeah.
Like Barnheiser's kid is like perfect Indiana dude.
Yep.
Back in the day. Big Ten is tough to watch, man. I'm telling you, I tried to watch that Wisconsin-Iowa game.
Yeah.
Gee, unorganized. And
it was terrible.
It was terrible. And then last night it was like Rutgers, Minnesota. I got a friend. He's the number one producer of at ESPN's halftime shows. If you see Seth Greenberg, this guy Rob Lemley produces it. He's a UConn grad. And I get a text every week when there's an NBA or a Big Ten game on. Thick ankle league. Thick ankle league. Look at the thick ankle. Everybody's got thick ankles. I'm like,
it's the truth.
It's terrible.
And that's what I watch. And I feel dumber and dumber and dumber for doing it. I watched that Wisconsin-Iowa game. I watched the overtime because I root against Fran. And I knew Bart was doing the game. And I thought, we'll see how many times we get to see Fran. And so it was fun for me. But like from a basketball perspective, it's just a catastrophe. This conference is awful.
All right. I usually mention Urban Meyer at least once a show. So here's what he used to do. He would rate his coaches by, maybe I told you this, I can't remember. He would rate his coaches by I'm the wide receiver coach. My wide receivers better be first round draft choices. He would rate them and keep them based on the NFL draft. He's like, look, we got guys coming to us that are 5-star recruits. We better develop them into the best. So the line coach would be evaluated by how many pros would be? The defensive backs coach, the linebacker. It's fascinating to me to hear him talk about it. It really is awesome. And that's how I look at the Big Ten. How many pros are there in the Big Ten? I'm going to argue 1, maybe 2. I'm going to say Edey's a pro. I'm going to give him, look.
Right.
You're that good. If you're not a pro, you should be a pro. You're that fucking good. All right? I'm going to say Boo Booey can make some I don't know if he's a pro, but I don't know of any others.
Not offhand.
None.
And it's interesting you bring that up because who was talking about it was either Billis or Seth talking about Kentucky and Calipari and how many NBA All-Stars, how many NBA first-round picks Calipari's had at Kentucky, and it's a gob of them. Like just, leading the world over the last 15 years, but they don't win.
Well,
and so does that he goes out and gets the 5-star guys who come into Lexington for a year and then bounce out and go to the league, and they really don't benefit him tremendously. But would Kentucky rather have what Purdue's got, or would Kentucky rather have what Cal brings them? It's kind of an interesting, either or thing.
They had 7 NBA guys, and not including De'Aaron Fox and Jamal Murray. They had 7 in the game yesterday. The record was 4, and Kentucky had that. See, it's all a matter of levels, though. Like, Indiana is not even making the tournament. Like, Kentucky gets beat, once in a while. They got beat by St. Peter's, but they're at least in the tournament. They're at least competing for their conference title.
Right.
I'm not saying it's right in Kentucky, and to your point, I think most Kentucky fans would say this last couple of years, Calipari's been horseshit, right? I mean, but they go to Auburn, and guess what? They go beat a top 10 team on the road. Like, when's the last time Indiana's beaten any team that they're not supposed to beat?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I guess it's levels, but Purdue is a bit of an anomaly. But I'm not necessarily just talking about Indiana in pros. I'm talking about the league. I always go back to this, watching Indiana play the Fab Five the first year when they still had Eric Riley, and there were I think there were 13 guys that played in the NBA in that game. Indiana versus Michigan. I think it was 13. Could be wrong. I mean, I included Bailey because he played in the press. So Bailey, Calvert, Graham, Henderson, Rose, Weber, Howard, Jimmy King, Eric Riley. That's 9. Who am I missing? Was Evans. That's
Evans.
10. I think I'm missing. Maybe it was 11. But we're talking about 10 in one game.
Yeah.
I mean, shit, 10 in one game.
Yeah.
I know
You're going to have 5 in the conference.
No, and I know it's different, but everybody's talking about all these old guys staying, so you think. So it's a bad league. Indiana's struggling. Yay, Rod, go fight, win, beat Nebraska, and figure it
Hey,
out.
let me ask you one Colts question.
Yeah.
Because what are you going to do? Like, between the Super Bowl and the Combine, you make lists. It's it's like sports talk radio. And so I made the top 10 best, because I felt like throwing Ballard some flowers, the top 10 best picks. And I even include Quentin Nelson, 6th overall pick in 2018. And people are like, oh, their heads exploded because they love Quentin Nelson. Was Quentin Nelson a good draft pick at number 6 in 2018?
Well, they could have had Josh Allen.
Yeah. Or Lamar Jackson.
Yeah. I mean, no. I no. Because frankly, it's what's it done for you?
Right.
You've paid a lot of money, more money than you needed to, and the guys you could have had are much more valuable to a winning proposition. And if you really were good at your job, really good, you would have known that there was some angst there with the Luck family. Now, I'm not saying you could have predicted it, and I'm not. It's easy to say pick Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen, but no. Why? Everybody says they are, and you say no.
Well, I think they just love Quentin Nelson, but they don't understand, like, what I was talking about is how people outplayed their draft
Yeah.
pedigrees. So if you took a guy in the 3rd round and he wound up being an All-Pro, that's a really good draft pick. If you take a guard higher than any guard has been taken since 1986, and he's an All-Pro, well, he ought to be the best guard in the history of the damn league.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, but I'm just, because I answer comments like habitually. I'm crazy for answering all these comments, but I just wanted to talk to somebody who's sane
No.
and understands things a little bit, because you're the port in the storm for me in a lot of cases.
Is Dockett still door dashing to cover his gambling debts? Shut up. That's like 5.
This is what you get for opening the door.
I
You
know.
open the door a little bit into your world, and people just shove it up your ass until eternity.
It's actually a very honorable thing I did, which is pay
Yeah,
my.
of course it is. What do you want him to work less?
I can't let you go without this. So we're all supposed to say Indianapolis killed it for the All-Star game, right? We killed it. We killed it. Yay, rah. What does that mean?
Well, it meant that the thing went off without a hitch and that people had a great time.
Okay.
Did you? I mean, I
know what that means.
I thought that and this is more the NBA than the city. I thought the event was really good, and I enjoyed watching, like, Saturday night, which I never watch. I enjoyed watching part of the game. It was fun seeing Halliburton hit some shots. That was fun.
Man, you're out of your fucking mind. Man, I mean, I'm not saying the city didn't do good. We got snowed out from going downtown. We were going to go,
Right.
but yeah, I just don't know what it means. I know that as soon as Indianapolis has an event, everybody, oh, they're going to kill it. I don't know what it means. Like, I guess, I mean, there's
Well,
only
I don't know. Like, you've been to a million Final Fours,
in these
right?
great,
I've been to like 6.
yeah,
The Final Four in Seattle, I hated. I
yeah,
thought the people in Seattle were shit. I
yeah,
thought they were assholes. I didn't like being in Seattle. I like coming to Indy. I
yeah,
live here, so of course. But when you're here, you feel like you're among friends. They take good care of you. They are happy that you're around.
totally agree on all counts. Seattle can suck it. Indy's final. Have either of you been to Point of Vallarta? Is it safe, and what should he do?
I have been there. I was there in 2009. So it's been 15 years, but we were at a resort, one of those Ryu all inclusive places, but we went downtown. We had a great time. We stuck Paulie Balls. Well, we didn't stick him, he did it. He said, first round's on me. We took some people from the resort, went to a bar, and Bill goes, first is on me, 9 beers. They come in like super big gulp cups. They're like 44-ounce styrofoam cups, and they cost about $12 each. And half the people with us couldn't drink more than one, so nobody else picked up a round, and it killed Bill. It still killed, well, Paulie. It was
I,
great.
I went to Puerto Vallarta, and the downtown area right on the water is like spring break. It's great.
Yeah, I
We
loved it.
really so one night we're there. The Soul Girls are there. Soul Beer had the dancing girls, and as most women do, they took a fashion to me and dancing around me. So I was drinking. My wife wasn't very happy. We get in the cab, Kent, to get back home, and the guy's driving like crazy person. This is a true story. He goes through a four-way stop, and as he's going through the four-way stop, his left hand is driving the car. He goes like this as he's driving through the four-way stop. And of course, I'm in the back seat. I'm like, what the fuck did you just do? He goes, what? I go, you just crossed yourself. I go, just stop. You know,
We went to another bar, and it was clear that there was a VIP section upstairs, and Polly saw their bracelets, and so we went outside to the exit, and we got a couple of bracelets. Went upstairs, and it wound up being a private party, and beers were free. So we're pounding as quickly as we can because we know we're not long for this party. There aren't that many people up there, and the organizer, the person paying for the beers, comes up and goes, hey, you guys supposed to be here? And Paulie looks at her and goes, has anybody ever told you you look just like your cousin? And she looked confused for a minute, and we talked to, and then it was all over, and we got thrown out of the place. But he made like the random familial relate
yeah,
thing and sold it, and it was just a beautiful moment.
that's a big swing right there.
That's Paulie.
Yeah. Joey, it was not $1 million bonus check. It was $1 million raise for Mike Woodson.
Every year, here comes the million.
There's a big difference. I'm telling you, man. Hey, look, you players, come here. Give me your money back. Woodson, get over here. Give me half your check. Let's go. Let's go. Get out of here. Go play. All right,
That easy.
I'm gonna be on Colin Cowherd. I don't even know what time it is. I'm gonna be at 1:45. So join me then with Doug Gottlieb. We'll probably be talking about all the same stuff. How about
Let's
that?
go.
And tomorrow you're on with me at 2, right?
I will be there. I love coming in. Coming into the studio is fun.
Yeah, we have a good time. See you guys. Yep. Thanks for watching. Oh.